Donald Trump must be tired of losing because it is happening everywhere and every day in the courts, and whatever small amount of public support he has left, it is trickling away. And of course, with Republicans in Congress opposing his budget, his tariffs, and now his foreign policy, with one Republican speaking out so loudly that Trump and his whole White House are publicly panicking. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in supporting our channel and the work of independent media. Now, of course, this Republican causing so much pain for Donald Trump is Lindsey Graham, and what he said is leaving the White House furious. We're going to get into it, but before we do, I want to start with a different senator who we actually like, in Chris Murphy, who called out some other foreign policy of Donald Trump's.
I'm going to be forcing votes in the Senate on two major arms sales to Qatar and the UAE because I refuse to accept the corruption of American foreign policy. Let me tell you what I'm doing and why it's important. So, as you have probably heard, several Middle East nations are essentially putting money in Trump's pocket in exchange often for the transfer of national security secrets from the United States to these countries. We've never seen this before. Donald Trump and his family going around the Middle East and asking these countries to pay him personally in order to get favorable treatment. We can't accept this as a country. We can't accept this as a Congress. And so every member of the Senate has an ability to force a debate and a vote on major arms sales. And so I'm going to force a debate and a vote on two pending arms sales to two of the countries that right now are willing to pay off Donald Trump. Now, our relationships with Qatar and the UAE, they're complicated, but they are very important. And our message is a pretty simple one. If you commit to stopping putting money in the pockets personally of Donald Trump and his family, then we can move forward on these arms sales. But so long as Qatar is willing to gift Donald Trump a private plane, so long as the UAE is still willing to invest $2 billion in Donald Trump's crypto scam, then we can't do business as usual. Because if we were to approve these arms sales amidst this corruption, we would be normalizing a president of the United States using the massive power of American foreign policy in order to enrich himself. So this is an opportunity for the Senate to stand up and say, no, we are not going to allow the president of the United States to use American foreign policy to make himself rich. This vote will come as early as next week, but my hope is that Republicans and Democrats can stand together, stand up for a very simple message that we will not permit the corruption of American foreign policy.
This administration exists to serve whatever is the latest whim of Donald Trump, whatever helps the billionaire class, and of course, dictators abroad. Donald Trump will do whatever anyone who bats their eyelashes at him and acts like an authoritarian asks. And of course, that means Vladimir Putin, who Donald Trump has increasingly been doing favors for lately. It seemed like there might be a glimmer of hope after he was humiliated for the umpteenth time by Putin, that he actually might start working towards delivering on the promise that he made of ending this war before he was even inaugurated. But of course, that hasn't come to fruition. And so Donald Trump is getting increasing pushback from Republicans like Lindsey Graham, who called out Pete Hegseth in front of the Senate today. And that wasn't even the worst of it, because we're going to get into the leaked report detailing all of what's happening in the White House's freak out. But first, let's start with Lindsey Graham.
Is Putin going to stop in Ukraine?
I don't believe he is, sir. I think he'll
What do you
go
think?
until
What do you think, Secretary? Is he going to stop?
Remains to be seen, Senator.
Well, he says he's not. I mean, you know, this is the 30s all over. It doesn't remain to be seen. He tells everybody around what he wants to do. Are you familiar with his military buildup in terms of armaments? It's well beyond what we need to do to take Ukraine. Listen, I
don't want to give Lindsey credit, so I'll just say what he's saying is right. I'm not going to say he's right. I don't want to give credit, of course. But yes, this is appeasement. It is scary. It will only get worse. What does Pete Hegseth mean? He doesn't know what Putin will do next. That alone is a statement disqualifying him from his position in the government. Everyone knows what Putin wants, and if you don't, it's because you're either one, an idiot, which Pete Hegseth is, or two, you're drunk, which Pete Hegseth likely is. But again, Lindsey Graham didn't just stop there, because what he is doing with a new bill in the Senate is causing the White House to panic, and Trump too. Let's take a look. White House quietly pressures Senate to water down Russia sanctions. The Trump administration is trying to get Senator Lindsey Graham to significantly weaken his Russia sanctions bill, while the White House seeks to patch up its relationship with Moscow instead of punishing it for continued invasion of Ukraine. A key provision in the legislation, backed by more than 80 senators, is the imposition of sanctions on key Russian officials and sectors, as well as penalties for countries that do business with Moscow. The president fears that this could harm his goal of reviving relations between the U.S. and Russia, even as he seeks to end the war in Ukraine. Over the past weeks, White House officials and other administration officials have been quietly contacting Lindsey Graham's office, urging him to water down his bill, namely by inserting waivers that would allow Trump to choose who or what gets sanctions. Congressional aides said another way to weaken the legislation would be to turn the word shall into may wherever it appears in the bill's text, removing the mandatory nature of the prescribed reprimands, congressional aides have said. Any administration asks for changes to high-profile bills, often seeking language that gives the president more authority to make decisions instead of having foreign policy actions thrust upon them. But removing the mandatory nature of the sanctions would render Graham's bill toothless, the staffer said, noting that Trump already has the ability to impose sanctions at will. But the staunch ally in Graham hasn't publicly endorsed the changes that Trump's and his administration has privately pushed to make. I feel good about it. We're working with the White House and our Democratic colleagues and the House, Graham said on Thursday, adding that the measure was still moving forward. He declined to comment further. Trump, speaking in the Oval Office on Thursday, told reporters the bill shouldn't move forward without his express approval. No, I think the bill should move forward. I think the bill should absolutely move forward because you're doing nothing. You're bending to the will of Putin because you're weak and you're ineffective. And just because you roll out the red carpet of tanks doesn't mean you're strong. Just because you pretend to be a dictator doesn't mean you're powerful. Just because you attack protesters in LA doesn't mean you can control them and suppress our voices. Your birthday will not be yours. It will be ours. It will be our day. No King's Day to stand up to you, Donald, because you are not a president. You are weak. You are a wannabe dictator, and we don't put up with that here. We don't put up with the kings. We don't put up with the nonsense. And also, I have given him too much credit in this video. Maybe not too much credit, but I don't want to give Lindsey Graham any credit. So I think it is important to talk about who is running against Lindsey Graham in his Senate race. That is Dr. Annie Andrews. She appeared on MSNBC recently. I want you all to hear more about her in this race. So let's take a look.
This is a kid with cancer, one of the diseases the NIH doesn't have the funding to study anymore. And this is a kid who's been shot, which despite being the #1 cause of death for children in America, is no longer classified as a public health crisis. And this kid, and there's really no other way to say this, is quite literally full of shit. And this is an adult who is also completely and unequivocally full of shit.
Dr. Annie Andrews made a hard launch with that now viral campaign ad announcing her run to challenge South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham in 2026. But the road ahead is unlikely to be easy. Graham was first elected to the Senate in 2002, and this week the Cook Political Report is marking his seat as safe for Republicans. Dr. Annie Andrews joins us now. Dr. Andrews, thanks so much. So, as you've just heard, this seat has been held by Republicans for decades. What makes you think you can flip it now?
Well, I'm a mom and a pediatrician, not a career politician. Lindsey Graham, as you just said, has been in the Senate for 22 years. That's half of my lifetime. And over that time period, he's changed his position on nearly every issue. I meant what I said in that video, and I will stick to that. People in South Carolina are ready for a leader who will fight for them, not someone who will just do whatever it takes to hold on to power. Democrats and Republicans alike are tired of the chaos and corruption that we see from career politicians like Lindsey Graham.
Doctor, you have a huge campaign fundraising void that you're going to have to fill to be competitive. Last time, Jamie Harrison raised around $100 million. It was the most expensive election, I believe, in South Carolina history. So you're going to have an astronomical amount of fundraising to do. But at the same time, Lindsey Graham is vulnerable. He is less popular. He's less popular than other Republicans. What is with his sliding unpopularity in South Carolina, where he is, his approval rating is at around 34%. And how do you plan to capitalize on that?
Yes, Lindsey Graham is as vulnerable as he's ever been because he's as unpopular as he's ever been because he's as corrupt as he's ever been. He's been in the Senate for 22 years, and in that time, he has failed to deliver in any meaningful way for the folks in South Carolina. He has enabled every chaotic thing that is coming out of this current Trump administration, and it is directly harming voters in South Carolina, whether it's our auto industry, South Carolina farmers, South Carolina small business owners. People are feeling it. He's willing to take food off of kids' plates, gut our nation's Medicaid program, and watch prices spiral out of control, all so he can deliver tax cuts to billionaires. And that's not serving the people of South Carolina. I know people are ready for a change. That's why our announcement was so successful. And if people want to learn more about my campaign, they need to go to DrAnnieAndrews.com.
Dr. Andrews, I want to pick up on something that's in your bio on X. You say no corporate PACs. And we've seen some candidates who have had success with fundraising on a grassroots level. It's very hard in a state like South Carolina, as Elise was just mentioning. But I want to talk about how you run your campaign. What are you going to do on the ground that is going to be a grassroots-led campaign to rely on small donations when, as we just saw, you had a billionaire who basically took $270 million out of his own pocket to buy an American president and vows to probably do more so of that in the election cycle that you're going to be competing in?
That's right. I will take no corporate PAC money, and I'll do what I do every day as a pediatrician. I'm going to meet voters where they are. As a doctor, I sit down with worried parents and sick children every day. I listen to their concerns, and I come up with solutions to their problems. And that's exactly what I'm going to do out on the campaign trail. Being a doctor is not about red or blue, and this campaign is not about red or blue. It's about meeting people where they are. It's about inspiring hope for the folks of South Carolina who are tired of being left behind.
Although Lindsey Graham sometimes does give us moments of pushback against Donald Trump. Does he ever really? He's kind of just a flip-flopper, and he's weak and he's spineless. Yeah, I'm not going to give him any credit. Nope. I'd love to see Lindsey Graham lose. Oh, that'd be so sweet. He's such a complainer, and it would also be so perfect. My favorite thing about Lindsey Graham is he's really just sold himself out to MAGA. He said he was the one. If the party nominates Trump, it will destroy itself, and it has. There is no more Republican Party. It's a cult of Trump. And MAGA does, in fact, hate him. It doesn't matter that he's a Republican senator and usually bends to the man's, whims. They still boo him wherever he goes. So Lindsey's kind of got the worst of both worlds. No one respects him, including the cultists in Trump's administration. So, Lindsey, maybe you'll lose your seat, or maybe you continue to live your life knowing that no one really likes you, which is a fine outcome for me. I'm a little petty. That's okay. It's Lindsey Graham. We're going to continue to call him out. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.